Okay, topic today is roofs in Revit. Before we get going on our model here, what I want to talk about is just some general information about roofs. So when we look at roofs, residentially, these are always going to be made from trusses. I'm getting ahead of myself, my bad. Function of a roof, what's it do? Well, besides enclosing your structure, it protects the structure that you're building from rain, snow, the elements. Um, Roofs are made of individual elements. These are framed elements called trusses. You can see here we got our 2x material. It distributes the load of the roof to the walls. So like let's say it snows, the roof has to carry all that weight. That's why we need an engineered truss that can distribute that weight well um, to the exterior and then to the ground without collapsing our structure. Um, our trusses are typically going to be spaced 16 to 24 inches. Okay, just like I think I misspeak there. I think you'll see more than this, but just like wall framing, 16 to 24 inches, you will see higher numbers than this though. Um, Typically, they're pre-manufactured, so there are companies that all they do is they make trusses, and you will call them up, say, "Hey, I need a truss that meets these specifications." They'll make it, they'll send it to you. They'll deliver it to the job site, and then you install it there with a crane. You pick up the truss off the ground, send it to where it needs to be, fix it into place. And then you're typically going to be using 2x material to make this. Um, and then typically covered with shingles or shakes, prevents water damage. All right, the water is not soaked through the shingles, it runs down and then into your gutters. Important one for us, this is the big one, is our roof pitch. Okay, it's a measure of rise over run. Okay, so how tall does your roof get over a certain run or a certain length? My example here, on a 612 roof, I'm going to rise 6 feet every 12 feet laterally, or like every 12 feet that I walk, it's going to get 6 feet taller. So we'll get to see what that looks like. The higher the numbers, like a 912 would be steeper than a 612. We'll get to see that in Revit today. So looking in our document here, um, look at our rafters. Our rafters are going to be 2x6s, 16 inches on center with 12-inch overhangs. The roof should be 5/8 inch plywood sheathing with a standing seam metal finished roof. Okay. Um, so right here, when we plot our or go to make our structure, 2x6s, 5-inch plywood, 5/8 of an inch plywood. Okay. When we go to lay out the perimeter of our roof, we'll have to remember 12-inch overhangs and standing seam metal finish will be on our um, material as well. So let's get started with that. In here, in our project, we're going to go to the first floor. I'm going to start my roof command, specifically roof by extrusion, and we'll see it's going to give me a generic 12-inch roof. So let's edit type, let's make our new material. This is going to be our 2x6 standing seam metal roof. And just to be sure, I want to Google standing seam metal roof, see what it looks like. Okay. So every 4 foot or so, gonna want to represent that. Edit our structure. Category, we know we're gonna start with our 2x6. So that is our framing lumber. That is our lumber. Load that in. 2x6 is actually 5.5 inches thick. We want to insert. Oops. Sheathing. Okay, and we're going to want to duplicate our sheathing and make a new material. So right click duplicate. We're going to rename this plywood sheathing, and this is going to be our, what do we call it? Standing seam metal roof. And we're going to select this one, go to appearance, My bad, we're going to stay in graphics, and then our surface pattern in the foreground, let's find, we want vertical lines. I'm not seeing one we like, so let's make a new one. Call it standing seam metal roof, no angle, 90, and then we want line spacing every 4 feet. Let's click OK. Standing seam metal roof is now applied to our siding. We know that that's going to be our top layer. Click OK. Click OK. We may have to go change that later, but we'll see. Okay, and that's 5/8 of an inch. So we click OK. Total thickness should be 6 1/8 of an inch. Click OK. I now see I have my 2 layers, my truss and my sheathing layer. All that's left is to apply my roof. So let's look at this one more time. Rafters. Okay. So we know what our roof looks like. Now we need to know where it's going to be. Where does it talk about? Somewhere here it talks about how the roof will actually look. Okay. There's a hip roof over the original part of the home. So a hip roof is our easiest type of roof to draw. Okay. All that is, oh, here's a good example of our hip versus gable. These are the two that we're going to be looking at right now. A hip has every side sloped. A gable just has 2 sides sloped. So this is called our gable end, where we can still see the siding all the way up to the roof. Here, the roof fully comes down to each wall, which makes it pretty easy. So I'm going to start my rectangle. Actually, I misspoke. I'm going to start our pick line tool. We're going to offset 1 foot, and I'm going to go to my stud layer. Oh, I just had it. So the edge of my stud in that wall. Ooh, come on. And place that line to the outside. Now notice when I place it, it has this little triangle, 912. That's my slope. We're not going to mess with that yet. All I know is that I want a roof around, I just had it, 1 foot from my stud on the outside of the house. Come on. There it is. So I'm just going to place all 4 sides. What I could also do, and actually this is probably what's going to be easier, is just draw my line. And then dimension it. So this is not from my grids, this is from the edge of that stud. Make sure that gets locked into place. And then I'm going to use my trim tool, which is right here, trim and extend corner, just to make sure my corners get connected. That's one I use a lot. Okay, base level, original wall height. Let's see if they give us anything else here. Okay. Top plate height for the original part of the house is 9 1.5, 612 slope. So now I'm going to select this line. I can change that to a 612. My bad. All I do is I type 6 and it goes 612. If you type 6 divided by 12, it actually has a slope of half, which is not what we want. I'm going to select all of my walls, all of my lines with my control. Oops. And then slope, I'm going to type in 6 for all of them. So now I check all my lines. They should all say 612, which there we see that they do. I got my wall height correct. I'm going to go ahead, finish placing this roof, and we'll get to see what that looks like in 3D. Sweet. Okay. Now, one thing I don't like, oh, never mind, that's correct. Okay. 2 cut plumb, fascia depth 10 inches, sure, slope, sure. Okay. What we need to do is we need to open up a section now and make sure that this roof is placed at the correct height. Do I have any sections hidden in here? No, I do not. So go to your View tab, Section, place a section through the house. And if I notice, I got this big gap from here to here on my roof. Okay, what I want to do is I'm going to make a detail line. So if I go annotate, and where is our detail line? Detail line. Okay, I'm going to draw a line from that point to that point, and then I'm going to draw another line 1.5 inches up. And the reason I need that is because we need to cut what's called a bird's mouth when we place this, and there needs to be a little bit of overlap between the stud of the roof. Okay, the stud goes from here to here. That's my 2x6. If we check that, we can see 5.5 inches. And this stud here. So now that I have my detail line, I can move it, modify, move. I'm going to select this as my base point and move it down to the bottom of that detail line. Ooh, and I'm so wrong. Okay, that is not correct. Detail line, I'm going to go here, down 1.5 inches. Another detail line up from that section. So it's behind there, but we can still latch onto that endpoint. I'm going to go from here down 7.5 inches. Just double check 1.5 there. Good. Okay. So now, when I place this roof, something there's looking a little funky. We're just going to roll with it. Okay. I have a little bit of overlap between these two sections. Okay. That overlap is supposed to be there, but to fix it, because what is going to happen is this is going to get cut out of that attached top to base, and we're going to show that this wall will go all the way up to that roof. Scratch that. We're not going to do that. We are just going to leave those the way they are, and then we'll fix this with the section later when we annotate. First, I'm going to try one thing. Aha! Okay. Sorry, figuring this out as I go. Modify tab, cut geometry. I want my roof to be cut by the wall. I'm going to go to my 3D view and make sure the roof gets cut by all 4 walls that I'm placing. You cut by you. You cut by, oops. It might already be cut by you. Yep. And then you cut by, give it to me, that wall right there. Now if I go to my section, I can see on both sides, my roof is cut out by my wall, which is what I want. When they place this roof, there's going to be rafter cuts placed in the wall, or sorry, bird's mouth cuts in the rafter. The wall does not actually get cut. If I go to my 3D view, everything's looking spiffy there. Okay. On to the next part of my roof. Okay. Top plate height for the addition is 8 foot half inch with a 6/12 slope. So same slope. Has a gable roof. So if we go back, gable roof on this side, let's check out how we draw that. This one we're going to do a little different. Go to your first floor. There's a gable roof over this section. Architecture, roof. We're going to remember our 1-foot overhangs. This side, we're going to let hang loose. And actually, just to make sure it's not like loose, We're going to give that a dimension. We'll say 15 feet just so we can see it. Okay. Select all of our lines. And let's remember that we're going 612. Okay, so now if I select my lines, I see 612. But on the gable roof, not all of our sides have slope. Only two of them do. Okay, in this case, these two lines, right here and right here, have slope, but these two do not. So I'm going to select my top and my bottom line and uncheck define slope. And you see the slopes off both sides disappear. Make sure my addition wall height. Okay. Make sure that's all hunky-dory. Click check. 3D. And that's what we're left with. I'm going to take a minute just to look through the rest of our details, see if we're missing anything, because I don't like that this is a different um, height, but I'm going to check through and see if we need to fix that. Okay, what we need to do is we need to go back into our section, but now I'm going to move my section over here, go back into it, and now, oh, that's confusing. When I go in my section, I'm also going to make sure that it's aiming up. So if I click this little arrow right here, flip section, and then go back into it, I'm only looking at one roof. Less confusing. 7.5 inches. Whoa. From here, 1.5 inches down for a bird's mouth cut, and then a line that goes up there. Move command. And then we can delete our detail lines out of there. So I know that this roof is now at the correct height. That is just something we're going to have to deal with. That is the way the roof is supposed to be. Okay. But you can see it's not connecting quite correctly. I'm going to change that to 10 now. What I am going to do is I'm going to use a new command, join and unjoin roof. I want this edge of my roof to connect to this wall. And you see that it will extend that way, like so. Okay, I also notice that the rest of these don't go as far as they need to. And I'm realizing now that I misspoke earlier. So we're going to edit our footprint, go into our first floor, and instead of dimensioning this to be any certain way, we're going to add our 1 foot overhang from that stud to that wall. Boom. On our 3D, hopefully it looks all right. Okay, it looks a little wonky. I do think that's what we're supposed to have, so we're going to leave it. Notice that we're left with a wall that does not go up to the roof. Super easy fix. Select the wall, attach top to base. Boom, right there. Okay. I'm going to start my cut geometry command one more time. I need to tell this roof to be cut by this wall, this roof to be cut by that wall. Okay. As I'm looking in here, I'm remembering that I should have some kind of pattern here, which I don't. So I'm going to open up my material, go to that foreground pattern, and edit my standing seam metal roof. And we're just going to leave that at 4 inches. And see if we can see anything when we apply that through. Ah, we get one line. I'm realizing the issue now. Okay, select your roof one more time. Edit your material. Our pattern should be this is what I think is a model pattern. New pattern. standing seam metal roof, 90 degrees, so it's vertical, and then 4 foot there. Okay, 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 and there it is. Okay, so we can see the pattern for where our metal seams would be. We've got our hip roof, we've got our gable roof. We're not doing the porch yet. We'll get to that when we get to that. Okay, that is a quick introduction to roofs. Not so quick and easy, but it will do for now. Roofs are a complicated thing, and especially with this practice project, you got 3 different types of roofs. It's good for exposure. When we do the independent model, it'll be a little bit easier because everything's all at the same height. Um, that's Revit roofs.